Hey guys, what's up? And in today's video, we're going to be talking about a Black Clover mobile tier list. Now guys, I just want to say and preface this with this is going to be a very scuffed tier list. I am just literally basing this off the skills that I've read. I haven't tested literally 90% of these people yet, so I don't have any experience actually using these characters. I'm just going to be putting my general opinion on how they look in the game right now. As far as like an actual tier list goes, guys, I would say give it a minimum of 2 weeks so all the characters can be tested and everything like that. You can get a really accurate tier list versus my copium one right here. So guys, with that being said, just one final disclaimer. This tier list is probably going to be wrong. This tier list is probably going to be copium. Because as I said before, I literally just read the skills for the characters. Most of these I haven't even tested. So yeah. Anyways, guys, let's go ahead and talk about some of the characters now. Alright guys, starting off first here, Charlotte. I'm going to be throwing Charlotte in the A tier. And the reason that is because as far as what she does, she gives a defense shred, which is great. And she also deals additional damage if the enemy is marked. And the reason I put her in A and not S is because this damage is conditional. For her to actually use her basic attack skill to get the extra damage, you have to be able to hit that 50% proc on this skill, and then if you can do that, that means you then in fact get the attack buff from her primary skill. All right, talking about Lars next, we're gonna be throwing Lars in the A tier as well. The reason we're throwing him in A tier is because he has a taunt, which is conditional. The enemy has to have a status effect on them for you to actually taunt them, so the enemy is gonna have to be stunned, and he only has a 40% stun on his skill and a 60% stun on his actual ultimate. So with this, I gotta throw him in A tier. I can't throw him in S tier. I do think there's a better tank in the game, and we'll talk about him in a little bit, but as of right now, I do think Lars is A tier. Talking about Fugolion next, I'm throwing Fugolion in A tier as well. The reason I'm throwing Fugolion in A tier is because, like I said before, with Charlotte, he does have conditional damage. The main way to get his attack off on his main skill is the enemy has to be burned or have DOT on them for this to actually take place and actually get good damage out with him. Now, his skill and ultimate can burn the enemy, but the point is they only have a certain % chance of doing that. So for that reason, I'm throwing him in the A tier because I do think there are better attack units in the game that don't have these conditions that you need to meet before you can actually do the damage with them. Talking about Nozel next, I'm going to be throwing Nozel in the B tier. Nozel's kit is just kind of wonky, honestly. It's decent. His skill is going to be reducing the magic damage of the enemies, meaning if you're up against someone that mainly does more physical damage, then this really doesn't affect it too much. This being as it is with only decreasing the magic damage, and then the first skill only doing like a basic status effect. The ultimate is kind of nice, but overall I do think his kit's a little bit worse than the ones above. Alright, talking about, I don't know his name, the Crazy Man. We're gonna talk about the Crazy Man now. I'm throwing him in S tier. I think he's the best tank in the game right now, so yeah, we're gonna throw him in S tier because as far as what he's doing, he's giving defense to all allies, he's giving the whole team shield as well, and he's also giving damage resistance to the whole team on top of this. This is just really good. I mean, he's giving shield, damage resist, and defense. This is what a tank unit is really supposed to do. He doesn't have a taunt, but his second skill, Blue Yami, straight to S tier. Blue Yami's just really cracked, guys. Honestly, all the seasonal units are S tier. They're really good, but they seem really busted in their own respective categories. So for that reason, we're going to throw Yami in the S tier. Same with Mimosa too. Mimosa's cracked. We're throwing her in the S tier. And let's go ahead and get out the way. Let's go ahead and throw Asta in the S tier as well. They're just really cracked and really good. Also, guys, Yami, the other Yami, is also really good. He has AoE standard attacks, which is just really nice. And overall, I mean, all the Yamis in the game right now are just really cracked and really good. They got a big buff from the beta, and yeah, they're just kind of crazy now. Leo, from looking at his kit, he looks alright. I'm throwing him in the B tier. I don't like his kit too much. He does burn. He has vampiric abilities, which means he basically takes HP and that he deals damage. And he also deals damage based off of his HP, I think. That's what the ability said. The translation's kind of weird for it, so I'm assuming it's based off of his HP or something like that, so I'm not sure on that. But his kit looked kind of weird. I didn't like how the kit looked too much, so I'm putting him in a B tier. Alright, now as far as Jack goes, guys, Jack is a really good attacker. Jack is just ripped at killing bosses and stuff like that. He does amazing single target damage. Yeah, he just shreds through enemies really quick, and that's why I'm putting Jack up here. In the S tier, he's just really cracked, really OP, really good. Mr. Vangeance going straight to S tier. Bro, Vangeance turns people into trees. On top of this, he gives like attack buffs, speed buffs, defense buffs, whatever buff you could think of, he probably gives to your team. Really cracked, I think, best support in the game. Yeah, really good. I think this is going to be one of our last S tiers now. Mr. Lotus. Yeah, Lotus is probably the best reroll character that you can get. He does an AoE first skill attack. On top of this, he's debuffing the enemy to lower their advancement, meaning it's making the enemies move less, so you have more chances to attack. It also makes you a bit faster as well because you can get your attacks out faster. Not even really talking about the ultimate skill too. I think He's just really cracked, really good, best reroll character in the game. So for that, we're putting him in S tier. Now let's talk about Miss Sally Sue. Miss Sally Sue is gonna go to B tier. I don't like her normal basic attack. It does vampiric, which is alright, I guess. Her skill's gonna amplify crit rate and damage for the team, and her ultimate's gonna do basically the same thing there. So I mean, for that fact, I'm gonna throw her in B tier. I do think there's better supports. Honestly, there's a better SR support in my opinion. So when we get to that part, we'll talk about them more. But yeah, I think for now, Sally's B tier. Rill, I'm gonna put Rill top of A tier, guys. I do think Rill is super good. Rill has a really strong basic attack from what it looks like from my playing through anyways. His basic attack's been killing more things than his other skills. He also has a defense shred on his skill, and on top of this, he's gonna be amplifying the amount of damage that enemies take with his ult. And for this reason, we're gonna throw him top of A tier because I mean he's pretty good. I think the AoE damage he's doing is not really all that great, but the effects and debuffs he's applying to the enemy makes him pretty good in my opinion. Charlotte's girlfriend, we're gonna throw her down here in the D tier. Yeah, all she really does is taunt the enemy. That's really about it. That boy Yuno going straight to B tier. Yeah, dude, he's really good. He does a lot of damage as far as single target attacks go. Whenever you do hit a crit with him, he'll attack all enemies, and whenever you kill an enemy, he'll also be dealing an additional attack to another enemy on the field, which makes him really viable there. His ultimate's also pretty good as well because it has a 60% defense shred, and on top of this, the link skill, especially if you use him with Asta, link him up with Asta, he's going to be making the enemy take 60% increased damage, and that is just really huge. For that reason, I'm throwing him in the B tier. I think he's really cracked, and you could level him. I think he could actually help you through most of the game. Magna is going to be in D tier. Magna can ignite the enemy, and he has a 50% stun. That's the basic premise of his kit. Theron right here, he's okay, he's decent. He does apply defense reduction if the enemy is stunned. His ultimate has a chance to stun, and he also decreases the amount of block that the enemies can do. So for that, I'm going to throw him in C tier. Charmy, I'm throwing Charmy in B tier as well. I think that Charmy is better than the SR free mimosa that they give you, and for that reason, she's going to be doing additional attack, extra attacks as well. She'll be healing. She has a chance to give a skill to the ally that was healed, and she can also remove buffs from the enemies. I mean, honestly, all this combined just makes her really good, more versatile than I would say Mimosa is. Mimosa only being able to heal, and honestly the only thing she really does is heal. Doesn't really do anything outside of that. She can heal and attack, and I do think her heals are pretty substantial as well. So for that reason, we're gonna have her here. She also acts as a battery too, so yeah, there's that. One of Noel's scuffed siblings, you don't know his name, but we're gonna throw him right here in the C tier. He's pretty decent. I mean, his attacks are okay. We're also gonna be throwing Mimosa in the C tier. Like I said before, her healing's great, but that's about the only thing she does. She doesn't like really apply any buffs to the team or anything like that. I mean, I think she has like a debuff removal or something like that, but outside of that, I mean, it's okay. I just checked again. She removes bleed if you have bleed, which I mean, it's pretty niche as far as that goes. So yeah, throwing it in a C tier. Noelle, same issue here. She applies a lot of shields and stuff like that to your team, but overall, I mean, I think that your SSR variant of her is better. I do also think there's better support than her in the SR category. I just don't think her ability is that needed. This guy right here, I don't think he's that good. The Scuffed Man, I don't know what his name is, but I'm throwing him right here in the D tier. Same as this Ice Scuffed Man here too. We're throwing them both in the D tier. They're both all right. They're whatever. Mr. Alec D, we're gonna be throwing him into the C tier here. I mean, he's all right. He does increase damage if the enemy is stunned, and his ultimate has a chance to stun, and his skill has a chance to stun, so it's very conditional, and the rates at which he does stun are kind of low, so for that reason, I'm throwing him in the C tier. Ashtrashmasta, we're throwing him in the B tier. I think he's a pretty decent tank. He can remove debuffs from himself. He also can taunt the enemy. On top of this, he can also stun the enemy as well, so I mean, all of these combined together are just pretty good, and I think he's a pretty good tank. Luck to Schmuck is going right up here to B tier. Luck does do some DOT damage, that being lightning damage, and the more DOT the enemy has, the more damage he does, and I found his damage to be pretty decent, so for that reason, we're going to throw him in near the bottom of B tier. Now let's talk about Finral. Finral for me is going to A tier. I think Finral is probably one of the best support characters in the game, because as far as what he does, he increases your speed. He's also going to be increasing your attack, crit damage, and basically your attacking stats when he uses his ultimate. He has a chance to anyways, and he's just making your team go a little bit faster and a little bit smoother, and for that reason, I think he's a really strong support character, and you should probably level him up. I mean, he's an A tier for me. I don't know about S tier, but A tier for sure. Miss Van Essa, I mean, she's alright. She does some defense shred, but I mean, overall, she's just alright, so C tier for her. I don't think she's as bad as these characters because she does do pretty decent defense shred, but overall, I mean, she's okay. She's okay. Mr. Ghosh, I don't like Ghosh too much, honestly. Ghosh is going to D tier for me. I mean, he does, like, follow-up attacks, kind of, but the follow-up attacks, like, the actual scaling of those attacks and how much damage they do are pretty low. So for that, I'm going to throw him down here because I don't think he really does that much damage, and his main shtick is doing damage, so. Now, the last one we're rating today, Now guys, as far as the last one we're rating today is going to be Noelle's scuffed sibling again. I think she goes to B tier. She can entangle an enemy and stop them in their place, which is pretty good. She can also bring down the amount of magical damage they're doing with her single attack, or with her first skill anyways. She has defense shred, and what's really interesting is her ultimate, because what her ultimate does, she summons in like copies of herself, and whenever she uses her main skill or her skill 1, she'll be doing increased damage with that, and I think that really helps her out. She kind of like plays into herself a lot with that. So for that reason, I'm going to put her over her scuffed brother. So yeah, basically guys, this is the tier list that I have right now. Please in the comments below let me know of any thoughts or changes that you think are going to be made to this, because there are definitely going to be a lot of changes to this. This is definitely not a definitive tier list like I said before, but yeah, I just kind of wanted to put this in place as far as my thoughts, mainly just for me to see how far I'm off from what the meta might be, or how good or bad units will be whenever we get a more adjusted tier list and we play the game more and stuff like that. So yeah, let me know if any changes you think might happen in the tier list. Let me know where I was wrong on this tier list. I'll take all opinions and every opinion. So yeah, anyways guys, that's gonna do it for today's video. Hope everyone enjoyed, and I'll see you in the next one later. Bye bye.